So I have Soulara on Conversations with Robin. Thank you for coming on today, Soulara.
Robin, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful, wonderful podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. So Soulara is an empath, a Usui Reiki master teacher and oracle, and founder of Soul Reiki. She strives to support the transformation, healing, and expansion of souls by transmuting energy blocks that make people feel like they are not enough. Exquisite, notable, one of a kind, unmatched, genius hero. A generator by human design, she integrates her intuitive gifts of clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairvoyance with intuitive advising, guiding her clients into soulistic wellness through her meta community, Supereros. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Okay. You are enough. Virtual and in person, group and individual healing sessions, as well as curated masterclasses, workshops, and events. So Laura, I
Yes,
love your
yes, yes.
bio. How do you describe yourself as an empath?
Thank you so much, Robin, for just asking that question. A lot of us do not recognize that we are empathic, that we do have these abilities to feel the energies and the environments of everything around us. And so for myself, I struggled with that for years. I didn't really know what was going on. I knew I could pick up energy in the room, whatever room I would enter into. I have a former career as a nurse, so just imagine, being in environments and just picking up everything that I walked into. So for me, I have learned that as an empath, it's a superpower. It's something that I have to protect and to harness. So what I do is I make sure that I have my own self-care regimen. I make sure that I have my energy protection techniques. And I look at it as something that's empowering, something that I can help people with. And because I can tune in as a Reiki master teacher, I can tune in to thoughts and feelings and different energies and to help heal people. So it's a gift to serve. So I would describe myself as one who can feel the energies of people and environments, plants, animals, and use that as a healing modality.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
What was the beginning of this journey that led you onto the spiritual path? Because I know that you just mentioned that you were a nurse before and then you studied Reiki. And then how did that all work? Do you feel like being a nurse was your first transition into helping you into becoming a Reiki master?
That is another great question, Robin. When I think about it, my spiritual awakening really did not take place until 2011 and literally right on the cusp of 2012. We talked about that. There was a lot of, energetic things happening, and we thought that might have been, the end of the world and all these kinds of things. I got that awakening. It was literally like 11:30 p.m. On December 31st, 2011, like going into 2012. So it was like really, really a powerful moment. But I would have to say I became a nurse about 8 years before that. So I was just kind of going about my regular life, working as a nurse. I was doing some other things kind of in tandem with that. But as far as spirituality is concerned, I really did not bridge over to that until 2011. So for me, it would have just been a combination of questions, things kind of not really resonating as much as they had before, in my younger years, growing up and all of that. So I just started asking questions, and the questions led me onto this journey of self-awareness and wanting to know more, and things, as I say, just not adding up. And, the more you question, the more you go down this path, and the more you question, you keep going further and further and further. So for me, I was just like, wait a second, I want to be here. And I'm not, and I know that I can, because, we had an upbringing as children under my mom that, everything is possible. She taught us about visualization and so many things. So I was just at a point where things that I was using were no longer working. So when you want more, you do something different. And so for me, I started seeking, and then I found, Reiki. Well, actually, I'll say this. I remembered Reiki. We talked about
Mm.
those clairaudient or clairintuitive gifts that I have. And I heard the word Reiki. And I said, wow, Reiki, like my mom mentioned this word. What is that? And at
Mhm.
the time, I was struggling with energy working as a nurse. And, imagine being there 8 years and not knowing that I was an empath. And, all these things were happening with me internally. And I had to just look for other answers. So for me, it was more of questions and the answers that led me further and further down a path. And I looked up and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling this. This is where I need to be. This is me, full expression here.
Yes, I love that you said that about one question will lead to the next question. And it's funny that you mentioned that because literally this morning I was dropping my daughter off and she is very inquisitive. She is 10 years old and she asks a lot of questions and she's into the universe and the solar system and the planets.
Wow.
And I
Mm,
told her, I said, don't ever stop asking questions because we have so much to learn and it's impossible to probably know. It's impossible to know everything, but it's so much that we don't know that is unknown, and it's
mhm,
beautiful. So I
mhm.
love that you just kept asking questions.
Thank
I
you.
also
Thank you.
love that your mom mentioned Reiki to
Mhm.
you as well. Do you feel like she kind of guided you into a spiritual awakening without knowing as a child with your upbringing?
So I'm going to say something that is going to be kind of eye opening and kind of different for those who will watch this episode. So, in a word, yes, I do believe that she guided all of us into this awakening. However, I believe on a soul plane that I chose my mother for this experience, that I knew that she was this being, this person who had this knowledge. I came through at a certain time frame. She taught all of us these things. And absolutely, yes, it was embedded in me,
Mhm.
right? And so it's one of those things that are kind of hidden until it's time for it to be revealed.
Yeah.
So she taught us things like meditation. I was on another podcast one time and speaking about things that we were doing, at the age of high school. And I'll share some of these things. And I had to laugh at one point because I was saying I was such a big nerd. Like, for instance, if people remember Uri Geller, who was the gentleman bending spoons back in the 80s, that was me.
Wow.
She took us there to see him in person.
Wow.
Just imagine, not that anything's wrong with any other shows that you go to, Sesame Street
Mhm.
on Ice and all this stuff, but no, we were going to see Uri Geller.
Mm,
When it wasn't cool to have copper pyramids like in your
mhm,
living room,
mm,
she had copper pyramids that we were sitting under
mm.
and meditating. Hello, in the
Wow.
80s. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
Yeah.
so I grew up with this awareness that was rather expanded already. Now, keep in mind, we still had the religious aspect. So we still grew up, Christian. We still, went to church. But she had enough wherewithal to say, I'm going to show you some other things. And I remember
Mm,
her explicitly saying one time, she didn't want us to stand out too much, like too different. Like she didn't want us to come to be, for all intents and purposes, like weird or just,
yeah.
too much. That
Yes.
was kind of
I
her
get that.
wording. Yeah.
Mhm,
And so she was like, I'm going to teach you this, but we do this on Sundays. But just
mhm,
come over here, let me show you. You
mhm,
meditate like this.
mhm,
She taught us silver mind control, or
mhm.
the ultra silver mind is what it's called right now. And so I'm just saying, yeah. So absolutely. She
Yeah.
taught us a lot of things, and I just picked up, I absorbed it because it spoke to my soul. Because again, I believe I chose that. I chose
Yes.
that as my journey.
Yes. And I truly believe that we all pick our parents
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
you think
So,
so too?
yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Um, and a lot of people, I feel like it's hard to comprehend that, but you have to ask questions and go into the unknown to understand that because there's a reason for everything. Everything that why are we here? Why are things happening to us are for us, really. So I love that your mom was your first person to guide you into that on this plane, I should say, I
I
guess.
love
Yeah,
that. Look
yeah,
at you, Robin. Okay. Let's go deep. Okay, we'll go deep. Yes, on this plane, this life experience, this
yeah,
time around. You're
yeah.
right. You're right. She was that one, and I connected with, her soul, and I came through. And I'm honored to be of the lineage, from my mom and my dad, and um, I'm here. I'm the legacy. I'm the
Yeah, that's
legacy.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what exactly is a Yusu? And did I pronounce correctly? Please.
Usui,
Usui.
Usui.
Thank you.
Yes, Usui. You're
What
welcome.
is a Usui Reiki master, as well as an oracle for those who might not have heard those terms before?
Thank you for asking that. So, there are different types of Reiki, and Usui is the traditional method of Reiki. And the gentleman who started that, his last name is Usui. So that is why it's termed Usui Reiki. And so I became a Reiki master teacher under that traditional style of energy healing. And so I wanted to encapsulate the way that I use my intuitive gifts. And because there are so many, clairaudient, clairsentient, all the things that you mentioned earlier, I said, what is that called when you're tapped in, to these higher realms of consciousness? What is that? And I just started researching, and the word oracle kept popping up. And I was thinking to myself, like, I've heard of the oracles of Delphi. Like, we go back into the
Mm,
ancient Greece history, and these beings that were able to go to higher levels of consciousness, gain information, and then bring it back down to the world and share. And I was like, oh, that's me. Like, I do that. Like, I tap in, and I get inspired, and the mornings are my best time. It's almost literally like there's an antenna on my head
mhm.
that particularly stands up in the morning, and I just receive information. I'm able to, write things down. And for me, I tend to get up and just start moving. Like, okay, I got this
Mhm.
idea. And I always say they want me to know, because there's a team who I work with, and it's just, they know that I'm here, and they help me out, they support me, they guide me. And so I just believe, those insights are to be shared. And that's where the oracle part comes from.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I
Mhm.
love that you said they. That is also one of my questions. I'm not going to get there yet, but that's one of my questions. Um, but with how do these energy blocks happen in our body with Reiki and energy healing?
So we are energetic beings, and as these beings, we are comprised in a physical or matter type of substance, if you will, that's surrounded by water. And so, as we have these life experiences, there are traumatic, and I'll use the word trauma not in the way of that it has to be so physically violent, but something traumatic could be, a parent or a loved one not showing up to a game, for
Mhm.
instance. And then, we as children, we take on these feelings and emotions, and we attach them to, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not important enough. We have these conclusions, if you will,
Mhm.
and they're stored in our body, and they're stored in these energy centers. And the energy centers, there's seven main ones in the body. There's traditionally as many as 114 chakras. There's a lot. There's a
Mm.
lot to really get into regarding energy healing. But there's seven main ones that most people are familiar with. And
Okay.
so when we have those traumatic experiences, they're locked inside the energy centers where we store that emotion, because we store emotions in our body. So, for instance, going back to the example that a parent didn't show up to a child's, let's say, basketball game, the child is just, they're hurt. And you see how my hand went to my heart, like, oh,
Yes.
they're hurt. That's that heart chakra. And everybody's different. Some people may feel it in their stomach. Some
Mhm.
people may feel it here in their solar plexus. So wherever you would feel that emotion, there's a blockage that's formed there. There's
Mhm.
there's a part that, when we say blockage, it's just an area where energy does not freely flow. So
Mhm.
when energy doesn't freely flow in the heart, that's a heart chakra blockage. If it doesn't freely flow in the gut or the sacral area, that's a sacral blockage. And so, what we have to do is to become aware, first of all, of where these emotional blockages or traumas are, wherever they exist, and then address those issues. And sometimes people can do it with therapy, but just really 99% of the time, there's going to need to be a physical law of motion, universal law, that we have to move it, we have to displace it. And as a Reiki master teacher, I'm able to go in and do that. I'm able to go in using certain Usui symbols and communicate with this energy, work together to release it.
Mhm.
And so that's how that works.
Okay. Okay. So on wow, that was a lot to take in. Thank you for such a great explanation. One thing that you did say is that people their energy blocks form, and it might be in their stomach and it might be in their heart. Do you feel like a lot of people know that they're actually walking around with these energy blocks? And you did mention they have to be aware of it. And
Hmm.
that's a key point, I'm sure, to helping get rid of those energy blocks. You have to be aware. Do you feel like the typical person is walking around knowing that?
That's an excellent question. So, again, as you said, it comes down to awareness.
Mhm.
And some of us souls who come here, we're just naturally more aware. And so we're going to go on this journey and figure out what's going on, versus another soul who may come here maybe with a different purpose. And so they're not as aware. So that's not a bad thing. It's just their life's journey, their experience. And
Mhm.
so they may feel certain things, but they may try to mask it. They may not tie it to like an energy blockage. So that's when we get into, these sorts of addictions or self-medicating. Like a
Mm.
person can say, I'm so depressed, or I'm so whatever word they want to use. And so instead of interpreting it as something that they should delve into a little bit deeper and figure out the why, it's let's mask it.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't want it, that's too heavy. I'm not comfortable dealing with that, or I don't know what it is, something's off. So let me eat this food. Let me eat something that tastes sweet. The sweetness can kind of, distract me. And so we kind of get into that pattern. Or let me, take this, when I do this alcohol, I forget, so they get kind of that addiction, that attachment.
Yeah.
So whatever those things could be, some people gravitate towards the self-medicating part of it versus, hey, there's something that's not quite right,
Yeah.
and I need to figure out,
Mhm.
what that is. And so there are some people who have an awareness, on those levels, and then there's some people who just they're not aware, but
Mhm.
then they're exhibiting behaviors that indicate, there may be something going on a little bit deeper. And so
Mm.
that's why on social media, for example, you'll see things such as signs that your heart chakra is blocked, signs that da 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 da, because a person may not be aware. But if you see those signs, you're like, hey, wait, I have trouble sleeping and I have to take sleeping, pills to go to sleep, or, I do this, I do that. And so we kind of get into that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like when you're delving into it, you have to get to the root of the problem with anything. I love that you said that your people can have a tendency to mask things, but
Hmm.
it's getting to the root of it where that's where the healing begins. So I love that you mentioned that. How can energy be transformed with Reiki? Is it physical or is it just pure energy?
So we are all pure energy. As a matter of fact, everything is pure energy. By the fact that we can see it, it has a frequency that lets us be able to visualize it and perceive it. So everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the word that I use is transformation, because if we go back to our science classes, we remember energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform, right? It can only change form. So the transformation piece is what I work with. So we take energy or frequency that, for instance, is a blockage. And so we're going to lift it. We're going to transform it, right? We're going to make it so that it doesn't stop the flow. Maybe if as we're lifting it up and out, depending on where it is, maybe it wants to kind of lift and disperse and go to a different chakra that might need a little bit more support and assistance. Or maybe it's just something that no longer serves the person. So it's going to come out. It's going to come out. It's going to lift. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the transforming of the energy. It can't be created. It can't be destroyed. It can only change forms. And so let's transmute it. Let's change it. Is it helpful? Like I've talked before about shadows and shadow aspects. Is that shadow actually an indicator, a trigger for something that we're masking that is actually something that we're supposed to use as a strength? If so,
Mm-hmm.
let's transmute it. Let's transmute it. Let's change its shape. Let's change how we perceive it so that then we can use it for the good of all.
Mm. Lovely explanation again, Solar.
When I tell you I'm tapped in, I'm tapped in.
Yes,
Oh my goodness, I'm tapped
I
in.
love it. I'm telling you, I love these conversations. It's all about consciousness and
Yes.
I love it. It helps raise a vibration. When
Okay.
you're doing Reiki on other people, especially being an empath, do you, at the end of the day, do you just go home and have to clear off that energy for yourself? Because it's important to not take on anyone else's energy, right?
1000%. We have
Mhm.
to be in awareness, especially as healers. We have to be in awareness of our core being, of our soul, who we are. And believe it or not only through healing sessions, even through just leaving my place of dwelling and going out, into the world, I'm picking up energies.
Yes.
So I have to definitely clear energy all the time. As a matter of fact, I clear energy. I do Reiki on myself every single day.
Hmm.
And it's gotten to the point where I had the awareness, and I'll just kind of throw this in here. As I go to a different dimension when I go to sleep, I realize I need to clear energy then too, because
Yes.
I don't want to carry something over into a dimension where it's not going to serve me.
Yes.
So just being aware, consciously clearing energy. There is, when you get to a certain part of our Reiki certification, there is a symbol that we use to actually clear the energy.
Hmm.
So it's imperative to make sure that you detach and release yourself from that connected relationship that you form when you're working with clients.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I
Mhm.
love that you just said dimensions. Um, do you want to delve into that a little bit or
Sure,
okay, can you
sure,
please
why not?
describe the different levels of dimension or stages of dimension?
Mm. So for that one, I'm going to have to say my current awareness is that we have 11 dimensions total. And the higher we go, the more conscious we are. And when I say conscious, I mean the more, when I say awareness, it's such a powerful word because it's just being in tune with who you are and,
Hmm.
and what you are.
Hmm.
And so there are other beings that are on these different dimensions as well. So it's not just Earth, and you have your family. There's a family that you may have come from or had an experience with that's not necessarily in this dimension, maybe in a higher dimension. So it's just being aware that there's more to it than what meets the eye.
Hmm.
And so for me, I'll share this. This is going to be another whammy bammy here, but
Bring it on. I'm ready. Bring it on.
so so in my meditations one time, I got the download that I have the ability to ascend to the eighth dimension while I'm here in this lifetime. And
Mm.
so when I got that, I wrote it down. I was like, ooh, just like you, Robin. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of self mastery that has to take, soul mastery, understanding, overstanding, and I perceive that it has a lot to do with being able to when I say manifest, I don't necessarily mean like from a materialistic standpoint, but
Hmm.
being able to just manifest even higher awareness. There are beings out here who can, and this is technology based. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
they can show up at will. They can come into right before you and then leave. In the blink of an eye, go into another dimension. Like this, this is literally otherworldly information. But
Hmm.
at the same time, this is all reality. And I'll give you a scientific example. So,
Hmm.
what we see right now is really 0.0000035% of what actually exists.
Mm.
So I'm going to say that again for everyone. What
Yes.
you see, me looking into this camera, me seeing Robin, me, seeing, what Robin has on her back wall, that's only 0.0000035%. It's less than 1% of the reality. There are other things that are, we look at that, the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light is that 0.00035%. There's what happens to the other 99.9999%. That's reality too. We just don't have the perception in this physical being to perceive that. And to call it, oh, that's a computer. There are things I hear that there's not a name for because it's on such a higher dimension.
Hmm.
So there's when I say there's more to it than meets the eye, it meets the eyes and the eye,
That's right.
literally,
Yes, yes. Whew.
literally.
Bring it on, Solar. Bring it on. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for this space, and I'm so glad to just share it with you because it's sometimes a challenge to find these spaces where we can feel comfortable enough to share and to
Yes.
express for those that have ears to hear.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for coming on and sharing it. That's the biggest thing too,
Oh,
because it's not talked about. I hear nowadays, I feel like a lot of people are having their spiritual awakening. A lot of people are asking more questions. A lot of people are talking about different dimensional, conscious, high vibrational talks. And it's so important to have because just like you said, it's more that meets the eye. What exactly is clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, and clairvoyance?
okay. So I'm gonna try to count here. So
Okay.
clairaudience, and then let me know, Robin, too,
Okay.
like for
Okay.
the ones that I missed. So clairaudience is the intuitive ability to hear information. So information comes through and you can hear it. So for instance, for me, I heard the word Reiki. That is what got me on the path to actually researching Reiki. There are many times in my life where I hear a voice, and it's a voice that I actually will look and see like, okay, I just heard that. And I'm looking around, I know no one else heard it because they're just going about their daily life. And that voice contains information that is uplifting or something that I need to do. And so I've learned to interact with that voice. I told you like the morning times are excellent for me. I'm tapped in, the antenna goes up, and I'm literally with my notebook saying, okay, okay, what did you say again? I'm literally having this conversation and I'm writing things down. So
Hmm.
I can perceive information through actually hearing it, a voice, that's saying something to me.
Yes.
Uh, and so clairsentience,
Hmm.
that is a feeling, being able to perceive information by feel, by touch. You may see some people who are able to hold objects and know something that has happened. Like if you go to someone who is intuitive and they'll say, bring something, bring an item of the person that you want to know more about, or
Hmm.
something like that. You take that and you're able to kind of like touch and feel like a sentient, like, okay. Or going to, let's just say, a place where you can dig out your own crystals, like a mine.
Yeah.
You go in and you're able to touch and perceive different things that happened, with the earth, for instance. You know
Hmm.
what's going on. So there's a clairsentience, a part to being able to perceive information. Claircognizance, there's a knowing. I just know what I know and I don't know. And that gets into the soul journey. Like, I don't know where I picked up certain information. Like, a lot of times, and it just sounds so funny, but a lot of times I'll be sitting and looking at something and watching something, and it goes like beyond, how Jeopardy, you'll ask a question, you just kind of know the answer, and
Yes.
you'll know, like, oh, I learned that. There's
Yeah.
some things that I can say or come across, and it's like, I don't even know where I picked that up from. I
Yeah.
just know that I know. Or
Yeah.
I'm speaking to someone and have my oracle hat on and I'm speaking with them and information is coming in and I'm putting it together like, oh, so you da 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 da, and I'll tell them information. They're like, yes, like this and this and that. It's a knowingness to it. Um, Clairvoyance.
Clairvoyant.
So this is a gift that I did not want growing up. And
Okay.
it's being able to see, perceive
Mm.
information with being able to see. So you remember the sixth sense, and it's like, I see
Yes.
dead people, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I see. I see all
Mm.
kinds of people and things. And so it's for the people who are wondering, am I clairvoyant?
Mhm.
Imagine you're sitting and, just kind of focused in doing something. And then out of the corner of your eye, we hear that terminology. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something, I looked.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
clairvoyance.
Yes.
That's clairvoyance.
Hmm.
And being able to, sometimes if you're tapped in and you've embraced it, you can actually turn and see, and it's like, okay, it's not just like out of the corner of your eye, it has manifested in front of you, and you're
Mm.
actually able to interact with whatever this is that you're perceiving. And I'll give a quick example of something that that happened to me. And I'll say that it's clairvoyant, but it was also very real.
Mm-hmm.
So several years ago, I actually was asleep in my bed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to sleep, I like to have everything dark. Like I need to go to sleep, no outside stimuli. And I was asleep, and I woke up because I must have perceived something in the room. Remember, it's pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
I opened my eyes, and I was laying on my right side. So I had to turn over because it was like, oh, let me turn over.
Mm-hmm.
And when I opened my eyes, I saw a blue being on my bed. And let me go back for a minute. It wasn't that I
Mm.
just woke up. I felt, if you're in a bed and somebody gets on the bed, there's
You
a
can feel it.
depression.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what it was, because I knew I
Mm-hmm.
was by myself. So what is this? Who is this getting in this bed?
Mm-hmm.
So as I turned around or turned over, it was blue. When I say blue, if you think about the Hindu god Shiva,
Yes.
it
Mm-hmm.
blue, like blue, blue, blue. And as a matter of
Yes.
fact, like Avatar, blue
Yes.
like Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those beings, blue like that. This being was super tall. It actually looked like an Avatar, to be honest. And this was before I even knew or was interested in, watching movies and things of that nature. But so it was real. It was like an Avatar. It was blue and tall. And I say tall because this being was on its knees. It got onto the bed on its knees, and I could see the rib cage. That's how I knew that it was tall.
Wow.
I could see, and this being it was beyond, a 6 pack. It was like maybe like a 12 pack. It was like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like like all the rib. I was like, okay.
Wow.
And it had dark hair, and the thing that just stood out to me was that it was blue.
Mm-hmm.
Did not speak to me, did not speak, took my hand, and this is this whole other. I'll say that it was Claire, my clairaudience, and it was telling me to come, like come with him, and I'll say him because it just kind of had a him, I guess,
Mm-hmm. That
vibration.
male. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, male energy, and it was like come with me, and I said no, mm-mm. That was my first of all. I'm seeing this, and then it's like mm-mm.
Yeah.
And then because it was gentle, it wasn't like rough or
Yes.
violent sort of thing. It was just like come with me, and I was like no, and I just I moved my hand, and I turned back over, and I went to sleep, and the being, it just left. And when
Wow.
I look at where I am now today, I'm like, please come back.
Right.
Let's talk. Who were you? I have so many questions now. Where were you coming from? What did you come to say?
Right.
Right? So if you're tuning in and listening, hey, I'm
Yeah.
ready. Come back. What was that you wanted to say those years ago?
Now your soul is ready.
Yeah, right. Now my soul is ready. Because before I was just like, I had experiences before, so I wasn't afraid. It was just like I'd
Okay.
never seen a being like this, and I
Yeah.
obviously didn't know like where. No, what are we trying to do? Where do you want me to
Yeah.
go? And wherever it is, I'm not going today.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
but now, hey, I'm
Right.
here. I'm ready.
Wow. So nothing happened like that after ever again,
Nothing
as of
like
right
that.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
as of right now, nothing like that. Like,
Wow.
because that to me, that would be an example of a being from another dimension.
Right.
Clearly, you're
Right.
from somewhere else.
Were you
Yeah,
calm or were you scared?
I was calm.
Yeah.
I was calm, and I was aware enough to know that whatever he wanted to show me, I didn't want to see it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do it because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know we were in a room in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, we're getting ready to go somewhere, and I don't even know where that is,
Mm-hmm.
because we're getting
Mm-hmm.
ready to leave here. What I know to be reality, because I didn't even know back then, about the reality and my perception, and so
Yes.
I was just like, oh no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no. Let me move my hand.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, what was it?
Yeah.
What did you want to say?
Well, thank you for sharing that story. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I've been wanting to share that, on a platform. Like I want people to know that.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
there's these beings, and we're not the only ones here. Like there's
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, thank you. Okay. So
Thank you.
have you always known that you've had these gifts? And I guess you have.
So at a pretty young age, I
Yeah.
would say I knew I had some of the gifts. And again, we were taught these things, and then we also had the religious aspect of it. So I kind of, as time went on, it was funny. I navigated both realms. I used
Mhm.
visualization very heavy. As I told you about Jose Silva's meditation method and all of those things. But for me, that clairvoyance, I'll tell you something else really funny.
Mhm.
So one day I came home from school, and usually my sister would get home not too long after me. And so I walked into the house, put my book bag down, and this was high school. And so I went in, and the house that I lived in had 3 stories,
Mhm.
and it was an older home. And so we always kind of liked that. It was just home, just had all this space and all of that. So um, I knew from the moment I walked in that I was the only one at home. There were no cars in the driveway. Mom and dad were at work. Sister wasn't home yet. It's okay. So it's just me.
Mhm.
So I went up to my room, and I closed the door. And before long, like right after I closed the door, I started, getting ready to change my clothes. I heard these footsteps. Okay, coming up the steps, the front hall steps. And I said to myself, now wait a minute. I know it's not quite time for my sister to come home. uh, who is this? I'm hearing footsteps. So I called out, called her by name,
Mhm.
and I didn't get an answer. But I'm still hearing these steps. This is in the middle of the day. Some people think in terms of, oh, it's at nighttime, it's on
Mhm.
Halloween, it's in the evening. No, this is broad daylight,
Yeah.
about 2:33 p.m. And
Yes.
I'm hearing these steps. So the steps got to the second floor and got ready. They were coming down the hall to the room that I was in. And imagine, do, 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 and I'm saying, no. As look, we could do a beat. Do, no, no, okay, no, no. This is not happening in the daytime. We're
Yeah.
not going to do it.
Yeah.
So this is going to be rather funny. But I had three windows in my bedroom, and so whatever it was, I was just like, I'm kind of not in the mood for this today. I'm just kind of not wanting to see who's at the door.
Mm.
That's that. And
Mm.
so I opened up a window as the steps were coming. And this, mind you, this hallway, had a little length on it. So I was
Mhm.
like, do. And I opened up the window, and I had one leg out of the window. I'm sitting on the windowsill, one leg out of the window, one leg in the room, because I was literally getting ready to jump. And this is the second floor. Because I said to myself, I'm serious. I was like, whatever's coming in here, I got to be ready. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to decide, okay, how am I going to fall? When I jump down, do I roll? I'm getting my strategy together. And as soon as the footsteps got to the door, they stopped. And I was ready. I had one leg out. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I don't hear it. And it just stopped. So I stayed there in that spot for a little while. And I would say, I finally eventually got out the window, closed the window. And so I waited until someone came to the room, until my sister or somebody came in. And so I was asking, yeah, so what time did you get home today? And so they were normal. I didn't perceive that it was a joke or a trick or anything like that.
Mhm.
And so, but it was a length of time that let me know the steps never went anywhere else. Like they came to the door and stopped.
Wow.
So it was just for another person to come in and open the door. So you see, there's two
Yeah.
different patterns of who came to the door. There
Yeah.
was the one person that came, and then, I
Yeah.
don't know, I say person, but whatever it was that came to the door, and then
Yeah.
the actual being came to the door to come in, and say, hey. So yeah, so I've been able to see for quite some time. I just wasn't ready. So
Yeah.
it was just like I was, as you see, I was prepared to like go out of the window. Like
Yeah.
I no,
Yeah.
like we're not doing this today.
When did
Yes,
you
sir.
start accepting those gifts?
Hmm. It wasn't until maybe college.
Okay.
I had an experience. My grandmother transitioned my senior year of high school.
Mm.
And so I was having some challenges with changing my financial aid around. And, it was due to the fact I didn't really want to eat the food that was the cafeteria was offering. So it's like I wanted to, it's like, give me my, meal plan money so that
Mhm.
I can do my own shopping. Like I don't want to eat that.
Mhm.
And so it was just a struggle, to change things around. And so my grandmother came to me,
Mhm.
literally came like another time. I woke up, she came through the door, she floated up to the bed. She didn't speak, she touched my arm and she let me know. And that was her saying, everything is going to be okay.
Mhm.
I have to tell you, that was like on Friday night going into Saturday morning. By
Mhm.
Monday, everything was clear. Everything
Oh,
was like, oh yeah, here's this check, here's this. And
wow.
before then, it was like I was going down to the financial aid office every single day, seeing the
Hmm.
financial aid director, da 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 da. It was just
Hmm.
back and forth. It wasn't working. And
Yeah.
so it must have been distressing to me because she came. And
Hmm.
she, came through the door, and I remember turning and looking, and she floated up to the bed.
Hmm.
There were no feet. I saw her
Hmm.
ankles. There were no feet for whatever reason. She floated up to the bed, and my arm was hanging out, and she just patted my arm.
Hmm.
And on Monday, everything was straight. Everything was together.
Wow. Wow. Ah,
Yeah,
thank you for
yeah.
sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. So we've really dived deep. Okay. When you're doing your energy healing, are you
Mhm.
connecting with your spiritual guides as well as your clients' spiritual guides? You mentioned earlier they. So I want to come back to that term. I whenever I am praying, I always connect to my spiritual guides. And I know some people aren't familiar with that term. So how do you connect to your spiritual guides?
So, to answer your question, yes, I definitely connect with my spiritual team. Each one of us have a spiritual guide. You may call them, your angels, guardian angels, however a person would perceive that. For myself, it's definitely, my spiritual team. And I have an awareness that I actually have some soul, I'll say, soul DNA, from some different galaxies, different stars. So
Mm,
I'm a star seed, and I have a couple of different origination points due to the original star seed origin. My planet kind of went defunct, due to just
mm,
kind of war and things like that. So I kind of went to another star seed colony. So that being said, I call on everybody. This is a team effort. There's no I in team. So
yes.
I call on my team. I call upon Reiki energy. And then I also call upon the spirit guides, ancestors, angels of the individual who I'm working with, because they may have information that can help that person. And so as I call everything in, before I get started, I also call on Mother Kuan Yin. She is a spiritual energy and ascendant master, deals with compassion. So
Mm,
I call on these energies. And so then we get on one accord. Like even now, it's like I feel them coming in, and it's just like, okay, I'm doing an example, but I feel like coming into my hands. And
mm,
so with that, I'm ready then to begin.
mm. Wow.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I love that you mentioned Starseed. I know that we don't have enough time. I will have to get you back on here for a part two to dive deeper. But how does a person know when their spiritual team is trying to connect with them?
Mm. Another wonderful question. I love your
Thank you.
questions. Yes, 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 yes. They get really deep and very specific, and it's important. So you're going to receive information, nudgings, maybe in dreams, something that's going to, depending on the person, if they have these, or if they've tapped into these intuitive gifts, you may hear something that tells you to do this, look this up, call
Mm,
this person. For me, numbers, oh my goodness, I have a relationship with numbers that is out of this world. Um, I hadn't previously known that, but since last year, January the 8th of 2022, I've been seeing a repeating number pattern every single day. And
mm,
not just the same number, but all kinds of numbers: 333, 222, 444, 111,
mm,
1111. Like it's just repeating number patterns all day long. And so I had to create my own guide so that I can reference and see who wants to tell me something. What are they saying?
mm,
And so I know it's my spiritual team. I don't, depending on what it is, whatever the number is saying to me, I have the message, generally what it's saying. So
mhm,
like 111 may say, my thoughts are manifesting reality. It may say, be optimistic. So that keeps me on track. So I make sure that my thoughts are highly aligned. I make sure that I'm not thinking something that is what I don't want to experience.
yes.
Whenever I see the number, it makes it more, I'll say, it's very timely. So there's some
Mhm,
time sensitive information to unlock. Like if I'm doing something and like right now it says 10:53, if it was to say, 10 10, for instance, repeating numbers. It's like, okay, what is the 10? What am I doing right now? What do I need to clue into? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So,
Yes.
people should just be aware of, oh, I saw this number. And it may not even be a repeating number. It may be a number in a dream. Look up that number. We have resources now where you can actually look up the meaning of numbers in dreams. What does this number in a dream mean?
Yes.
Um, someone could come to you and speak something to you that really resonates with you. It depends on the person and where they are. Your team is not going to give you information that you would just kind of turn away. It's going to give you information where you will take it in. So they may show up as a religious figure to tell you something, because they know if they come through with a spaceship, you might be like, oh no, I
Yeah.
had this crazy dream.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be something that is germane to you. So
Yeah.
be aware, be on the lookout for information. You may be on social media and there's a certain thing that grabs your attention, that kind of guides you down the journey. So it's just being aware of various things. It's not so much just, I'm going to come down from the heavens. No, it depends
Yes.
on the person, number one. And number two, it could be subtle. And if it's something that's very important that you need to know right away, they might draw your attention. Like, I've heard my name being called,
Same.
right? And it's like, oh, who called my name?
Yep.
And I
Hmm.
remember being in a situation before where it was just like, I was getting ready to do something and it was like, no. And it was so loud. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh. And at that time, I was not aware at all. So
Hmm.
I did not listen to the advice. And it was not a good look. It was not a good turnout.
Hmm.
But because I
Wow.
did not pay attention to that, it was just like, and I had never heard that. And that voice and that tone, it was like, who's saying that? And why are you saying that? Because this is
Yeah.
not that bad, what I'm getting ready to do. And it wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Wow. Oh, thank you for sharing that. What made you create your meta superheroes you are enough community?
Oh, I just have a lot of love and compassion for souls that are out here and want to find their way. There's some who are content just living their life in the way that they want to live it, and we all can do that. But then there's those of us who want more, who are seeking, and they don't even know where to go. They've lost who they are, that connection with self. They know that they have gifts, and they don't know how to remember. And
Mm,
since I had to go through a process of remembering myself, I can take you step by step and show you how to remember who you are. I can show you how to reconnect with your inner wisdom, your inner guidance, your soul that is you, the real you.
mm.
I can take you on this journey and show you how to use mudras, hand placements to activate certain energies in your body. So I come from a line of educators. So I'm here to teach about Reiki. I'm here to teach about life force energy, which is what Reiki means. So we're all life force energy. We just have to remember that and know how to use that for the good of all.
Yes, thank you. Such a beautiful conversation as
Aw.
we are wrapping up, Solara.
Aw.
What is your spiritual practice?
My goodness, Reiki, Reiki, Reiki.
Mm.
It's so important to clear my energy centers, to charge them up. And I love Nikola Tesla saying about
Yes.
everything comes down to energy, frequency, and vibration. So it's very important how we vibrate. It's very important how we show up. How does my aura, attract, circumstances, people, situations? How do I remain present enough to make change in the world? And that's being in control of my vibration and my frequency. And I
Mm.
do that with the power of Reiki, just being in awareness, working with people, clients and things like that. Let me transmute, make sure that I'm not attaching any energy that is not authentically mine, embracing my authentic energy. When I wake up in the morning and I do my Reiki, yes, 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 we're ready to go. Let's get it. I'm excited. You mentioned earlier about my bio being a generator by human design. We'll have to talk about that as
Yes.
well. But
Yes.
understanding that I am operating from a spirit and level of joy, and it's just like that is who I am. And when I came into that awareness, I was like, yes. So if it seems to be too much for some people, okay, but I'm
Mm.
still me, and I have to be that. If I'm not that, then who am I? I'm somebody
Right.
else, and I don't want to be
Yes.
that. I want to be me, and I'm happy, and I'm joyful, and I'm excited. And
Yeah.
so I've merged that with my gifts, and here I am.
Yes. Oh, powerful. Okay. Your vibe attracts your tribe, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. It
Okay.
does. Yes,
What
it
does
does.
spirituality mean to you?
Wow, spirituality is just the practice of tapping into the awareness that we're all one, and how do we take that awareness and do things that keep that connectedness in the forefront. So I'll say it a different way. um, I am aware that I am Soulara, that I have these healing gifts, and I came to share. Spirituality is how I tap into the awareness that we're all connected, and how do I use my gift and share it with all of us? How do I
Mm,
come here and express that? The spirituality is that I want to connect with all of us. I want to share these gifts. What do I do to make that connection that much more stronger, that
mm,
much more powerful? Yeah, so
okay.
it's not a religion base. It's more of that we are one connected spirit. And a spirit is like a global consciousness. It's like a global awareness, and it's what you do to enhance that awareness every day. So
Yeah.
like you were asking me before, what is it that you do, on a regular basis? And it's like, okay, I do Reiki, and as I'm elevated and cleared and energized, I can, as you said, my vibe attracts my tribe. I'm bringing more people in who want to figure out about that. And then we work on things and different aspects. Someone else may do meditation, someone else may do yoga, but everybody does this different spiritual activity to enhance that vibration so that we can all connect.
Yes, yes, yes. How do you define God or the divine?
Mm, here we go. God is me. God is you. God is everyone. God is everything. God is a geometric, it's sacred geometry. And this is
Mm,
God. This is the flower of life.
mm,
This is I'll say just a segment right now because it's in a piece of jewelry, but you'll see multiple circles interlacing, and these circles form what we call a vesica Pisces. And that is just in those vesica Pisces, this little where the circles conjoin like
mhm,
this, right here, this right here, that little slit.
mhm.
That's a vesica Pisces. And
Okay.
so that is where all the potential for creativity exists. So that's how we know anything is possible because we're all comprised of this. The plants have this, we have this,
Mm,
animals have this. Everything has this signature. This is the signature of God. So if we all have this in every single cell in our body and we're all connected, then this lets me know that this is God. This is all that is.
mhm,
So I came to that awareness one day. I was like, ooh, if I had to describe or look for God, first of all, get a mirror. That's number one. And look at myself. Number two, look at this. This is every cell, hair, eyes, eyebrows. Every cell has this signature. And
mm,
that's for every living thing, has this in it. It's on the walls of the Great Pyramids. It's on the walls of some of the temples in India. We're getting into ancient knowledge here, you know?
yeah.
And so it's just that's what God is. And I'll bring it to what my mom taught us. There was a creed that she, I'm sure, came down to her. And the creed, it was our family creed. And it was God is, and all there is God.
Mm,
In all, over all in all. God is the life principle within each one of us. This, I have found in my awareness, is that life principle that
mm.
we all are made of this, the flower of life.
I just need to take some centering deep breaths here. Okay. Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
I would tell her to just get ready. Your true purpose is going to be revealed. I would say just be aware that your unique gifts and talents will be supported and recognized. For a long time, I felt that I was out here just by myself. I was misunderstood and not comfortable. And I would just say, it's for a set time, it's for an appointed time. Keep going, keep growing, and your tribe is coming.
Mhm. What has life taught you so far?
Wow. It's taught me just to relish in perceived failures. A lot of times we want to succeed. Succeed has a different picture. It looks like, oh, we have all this money, we have this, all these material things. Where there's also some spiritual success that happens as well. And that is knowing who you are. That is, getting in touch with your natural abilities, your natural gifts. And so I would say that being able to understand fully who you are is going to take, I would say, many lifetimes, but be able to have that awareness of saying, you know what, I can take this and use it for the good of all. Life has taught me to just be open, constantly learning. Don't have just one perception. Just know that based on my expansion or awareness, this is where I am at the time. And just allow that to come in. Be gentle. Treat yourself with grace. Treat others with grace. Um, and just thrive. Thrive. Be who I am. 1000%. Do not dim your light for any reason or for anyone. Just authentically be you.
Beautiful. Thank you for such a beautiful conversation, Soulara.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything else that you would like to share with the audience? How can people find you? Do you have anything coming up?
So people can find me across social media as Soul Reiki, and it's SOULREI.KI. And as far as events coming up, you guys have to really connect with me. There's a lot going on. I am doing another podcast on this coming Sunday. I have launched my signature program called Soul Worth It. And this coming Friday, I am hosting an informational webinar about that. I'm going to go into detail about everything that I'm offering regarding that. It is time to help people on a larger scale, and I'm here to do that. I have several other podcasts. I have a speaking opportunity that's coming up as well. So I'm going to just say, follow me on social media. I always let everyone know what's happening so that I can have people tune in to such as this podcast. I'm just excited. Just stay connected as things are coming because it's evolving every single day.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Soulara. Continue shining your light on the world. And I appreciate you for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Robin, for having me.